This story begins in a world unlike our own. There exist four nations, each possessing their own unique superpowers. The airbenders have the ability to manipulate the air, while the firebenders can control fire at will. The waterbenders have dominion over water, and the earthbenders possess the power to manipulate the earth and soil. These nations engage in battles, utilizing their extraordinary abilities. In this world, an avatar is someone who possesses the power to control all four elements: air, water, fire, and earth. Unfortunately, the firebenders have decided to seize control of this world, resulting in the merciless slaughter of the other benders. However, there is hope in the form of Avatar Aang, a young airbender who is currently undergoing training. Unbeknownst to Aang, he is the Avatar, and his master is preparing him for the challenges that lie ahead. The other airbenders grow increasingly frustrated with Aang's master, urging him to commence his Avatar training as the firebenders encroach upon their territory, threatening their lives. Eventually, Aang's master reveals the truth about his Avatar status, emphasizing the urgency of his training to put an end to the firebenders' tyranny. Aang, who is only 12 years old, struggles to comprehend the gravity of the situation and expresses his fear, confessing that he does not wish to be the Avatar. Overwhelmed by these revelations, Aang seeks solace in his pet and takes flight towards the city, unaware of the fire raging behind him. In a devastating turn of events, the firebenders swiftly destroy the entire Airbender temple, claiming the lives of Aang's master and fellow airbenders. Aang, accompanied only by his pet, finds himself caught in a stormy sea on the brink of drowning. Just as all hope seems lost, we witness a remarkable sight. Aang's Avatar powers awaken. Following this pivotal moment, 100 years pass in the story, and suddenly, a blinding light emerges from a snowy mountain, causing it to erupt like a colossal explosion. This mountain was the domain of the waterbenders, where a waterbender named Katara was training with her brother. Upon witnessing the incident, both of them were frightened and decided to take Aang to their temple. Aang's departure was spotted by Prince Zuko of the Firebenders, who was on a mission to locate the Avatar in the world. When Aang regains consciousness at the Waterbenders' temple, he recounts everything that happened, including being caught in a storm before ending up there. An elderly waterbender questions how this could be possible, mentioning that the attack Aang described occurred a century ago, wiping out all the airbenders. She explains that only Katara remains a true waterbender in their tribe. After conversing with Aang, the old lady discovers that he is the Avatar and the last waterbender in the world. Aang also reunites with his pet during his stay at the temple, where he becomes friends with Katara and helps her to control her bending abilities. Zuko arrives at the Waterbenders' village with his uncle to capture Aang. When he demands the villagers hand over Aang, Katara's brother challenges Zuko to a fight. Despite Zuko's superior firebending skills, he easily defeats her brother. Just as Zuko is about to harm the boy, Aang intervenes and agrees to go with them. He is then kept captive on Zuko's ship. However, Aang manages to escape using his airbending skills, steals the keys, and takes a book written by Zuko about the Avatar. As he flees from the ship, Zuko attacks him with fire, but Katara and her brother arrive just in time to rescue Aang. Thereafter, they visit the Airbenders' temple, which was completely destroyed. Aang becomes overwhelmed with sadness and anger when he sees his master's bones. In this state, all of the Avatar's powers awaken once again, which he had previously struggled to control while managing his emotions. At this moment, Katara offers him encouragement. Aang admits that he believes it was his fault that the world ended a century ago, but he is determined not to repeat his past mistakes. He decides to complete the training of the Avatar and begins by reading Prince Zuko's stolen book on the Avatar. According to the book, in order to start the training, Aang must awaken the powers of the previous Avatars. Their first stop is the temple of the Kyoshi Avatar, located on an island. However, upon arrival, they are attacked and captured by the island's inhabitants. Suddenly, Kyoshi's statue begins to glow, surprising the islanders. They bring Aang and his companions to their leaders. It is revealed to Aang and his companions that they do not possess any bending powers, which is why they were unable to defend themselves. The islanders decide to assist them. Meanwhile, Zuko's army also followed them to the island and confronts the villagers as they are here to apprehend a criminal. The following day, Aang returns to Kyoshi's statue. This time, when the light shines on him from the statue, he is transported to another world and meets the Kyoshi Avatar. She explains that the world has reached its current state due to Aang's failure to train as the first Avatar. She warns him that if he doesn't train now, the Waterbenders' territory will be destroyed. Kyoshi demonstrates this by showing Aang a vision. She advises him to train alone, leaving behind his attachments, as their vulnerability is the Avatar's weakness. Kyoshi then uses her Avatar powers to possess Aang's body and returns to the human world. However, to assist the people in need, she discovered that her own people were in trouble due to the Firebenders' attack. Kyoshi quickly used her bending powers to drive away all the Firebender soldiers. This frightened everyone, causing them to flee. Afterward, Kyoshi leaves from Aang's body. The villagers express their gratitude to Aang for witnessing his bravery against their enemies. Following Kyoshi's advice, Aang and his companions headed towards the waterbenders' territory as Kyoshi warned him about the impending destruction. In another scene, after Kyoshi's defeat, Zuko encountered his own army, who were apologizing for not supporting him, that if they had known about the Avatar's meeting, they would have supported him. Zuko tells him not to reveal anything about the Avatar to anyone, but the commander tells Zuko that he told to his father. The Firebenders' king had already heard the news and acknowledged Zuko's capabilities. Surprisingly, Zuko's sister was not pleased upon hearing this, as she desired to become the queen of the Firebenders after their father. She believed that surpassing Zuko's abilities was one way to achieve her goal. While flying towards the waterbenders area, Aang noticed another airbender-like individual soaring through the sky. Aang immediately pursued him and arrived in a city inhabited by earthbenders. There they meet a merchant named Jet and ask for his help to enter the fortress. Since the soldiers prohibit outsiders from passing through, Aang felt a bit disheartened when he discovered that the flying child he had seen was not an airbender, but the son of a scientist who had invented a device to enable flight. They also encountered the scientist, who informed them that the firebenders frequently attack their city and that he had created numerous inventions and weapons to protect them. The scientist's son asked Aang, as an airbender, for his assistance. Meanwhile, the Firebenders were aware that a flying boy had been spotted in the Earthbenders' territory. Prince Zuko from the Firebenders decides to visit the city of the Earthbenders along with his uncle. In the city, Katara sees the scientist spying for the Firebenders and discovers that he is a traitor. She then meets Jet again, who was also watching them, and they both follow the Firebender through the forest and get caught by them. Jet then calls on his friends. A group of orphans joins them and manages to defeat the Firebenders. Meanwhile, her brother Sokka and the scientist Sai succeed in making the design of an air balloon. On the other side, Aang and the boy find out that the Firebenders do not attack with their own fire, but they use a chemical for it during the explosions in the city, and someone is also helping them in the city. Aang then informs his friends that it is all caused by Jet, but Katara defends Jet as a good person, and she goes in search of proof to prove Sai is the traitor. However, to her surprise, Jet reveals his plan to kill Sai and the king by changing their boxes with explosive jelly. Katara is shocked to hear that the boy she trusted could be so bad, and she realizes that Aang was right. She then goes with Aang to save the king. As they head to the palace, they encounter Zuko attacking Aang with fire, causing chaos in the city. The Earthbenders soldiers try to capture Zuko, but his uncle distracts them with his firebending skills. As a result, his uncle and Aang both get caught by the soldiers. Meanwhile, the Firebender's companion tries to kill the king by shooting a fire arrow at the box with explosives. Katara uses her waterbending skills to extinguish the arrow and save the prince. Thereafter, Sokka asks the scientist why you are doing something against the king, to which he replies, "I am compelled to do this. The Firebenders have threatened to kill my son." Katara tells Sokka that Aang is now in prison, and we have to go to the palace to save him. The scientist tells them about the secret path to the palace, which leads to the jail. The scene then shifts to a flashback 100 years ago, showing a young Aang with his Earthbender friend. Aang's childhood friend, the king of the Earthbenders, was 100 years old. Despite his age, Aang immediately recognized him. Meanwhile, Katara and her brother were on their way to rescue Aang from jail through a secret path. They encountered a secret tunnel and met a man who advised them to cross the path with love. However, the brothers, who had trust issues, faced a monster. When they held hands, the monster became silent, revealing the power of their love. Katara asked the monster for a way out, and it broke the wall, creating an escape route. Meanwhile, Aang was facing the vengeful king of the Earthbenders, who attacked him with all his earthbending powers. Aang barely managed to defend himself. The king, in anger, criticized Aang for thinking like a child instead of an avatar. Aang defended himself, stating that he was not doing anything wrong, and makes peace with his old friend. Thereafter, before leaving the place, Aang and his friends find out that Sai was actually a double agent working undercover to expose the Fire Nation's secrets. The king then bids farewell to his friend with a smile on his face. In another scene, Zuko's uncle was being transported to a new jail when Zuko attacked the Earthbenders and freed his uncle. Together, they defeated the soldiers with their fire-bending skills. On the other side, Aang and Katara left for the waterbenders. Aang praised Katara for her progress in waterbending, and she credited her grandfather's book for her improvement. Along the way, they discovered a village that had been attacked by firebenders. As they descended and investigated the surroundings, they discovered a small village. A villager then informs Aang about the presence of monsters who have a history of making people disappear. And then the firebenders attacked here and destroyed our area. Aang also sensed the energy of another realm. The scene then shifts to Zuko's sister in the city of Firebenders. The girl tells her father to find the Avatar with the assistance of the army general. Her father declared that whoever finds the Avatar will become the king, whether it's you or Zuko. However, it was noted that Zuko was progressing rapidly. The girl became furious. Meanwhile, it was revealed that Aang was sensing the energy of another dimension in a destroyed village. Aang transported his soul and his friend's souls to that dimension, where they encountered a strange monster that tries to kill them all and was screaming loudly. In another part of the world, Katara's brother encountered a fox who informed him that the monster causing distress was in pain, and by relieving its suffering, all their problems would be resolved. Meanwhile, Katara desired to meet her mother, but was soon interrupted by an attack from the Fire Nation in order to protect her. Katara's mother hid her in a safe place, only to be burned alive by the firebenders in front of her eyes. These were the haunting memories of her childhood. Suddenly, a new monster appeared and captured her. Katara's brother also experienced some troubling thoughts, while her uncle expressed doubts about his abilities. These thoughts weighed heavily on him, and he too was captured by the monster that had imprisoned Katara. Aang, on the other hand, observed his airbender temple in the other world and realized it was just an illusion. He encountered a monster who recognized him as an avatar and challenged him to a fight. Aang clarified that he had come to save his friends. However, as a soul in that realm, Aang struggled and eventually retreated to a nearby house. When he sees his master, he embraces him and asks, "Where did you disappear to?" "I need your help," Aang inquires. "How can I rescue my friends from this creature?" The master explains that this monster traps individuals with their past memories, but avatars are immune. The last time, a Fire Nation avatar put up a good fight and stole something from the monster. "If you want to save your friends, you must retrieve that item," the master advises. Although going to the Fire Nation territory could be risky for Aang since firebenders were his adversaries, he had no other choice. Hastily returning to the real world, Aang heads to the firebenders area. There, he encounters a firebender who believes in peace among all firebenders and agrees to assist Aang. He leads Aang to his avatar temple, filled with various objects. Aang struggles to determine the most crucial item before the other firebenders arrive to capture him. The helpful firebender tells Aang to focus on his task while he deals with the others. As Aang uses his avatar abilities, he encounters the firebender avatar, who reveals he possesses the monster's mother's statue. Aang retrieves the statue and prepares to confront the monster when another bounty hunter attacks him. This bounty hunter was hired by Zuko and his uncle to capture the avatar. Aang is taken into their custody, but he requests some time to save his friends before returning. Zuko disagrees, stating that saving others makes them weak. Recalling a flashback shows Zuko's dad planning a strategy involving sacrificing his own soldiers. Zuko questions this, but his dad tells him that he will be punished for questioning his strategy. In the present, Zuko and his uncle get rounded by his own army. The commander tells him to hand over the avatar to him, or else we have an order to kill you. Reluctantly, Zuko hands over Aang to his dad's soldiers. At night, Aang was tied up in prison. Meanwhile, outside, someone is watching the soldiers, and he skillfully enters their place and sets Aang free from his prison. A fight then starts up with the soldiers, in which Aang and the stranger fight them as a team, and soon they escape from there. On their way, the stranger gets shot, and Aang saves him by disappearing from there. It is then shown that it was Zuko who came to save Aang. He commended Zuko for helping him despite being enemies, and praised the amazing book written about his avatar. However, Zuko insisted that he was still Aang's enemy and intended to capture him. Zuko attacked Aang, and they engaged in a fierce battle. Aang eventually defeated Zuko and noticed the deep wounds on his face and heart. To understand the story behind this, we were taken back to the past, where Zuko fought with his father. Although Zuko defeated his father, he couldn't bring himself to kill him. His father criticized him for prioritizing the desire to save others over his own strength, and he punishes him by burning his eye. In the present, Aang sent Zuko away on a boat, promising to meet him after saving his friends. Zuko attempted to attack Aang with fire, but it had no effect on him. The scene transitions to the past where Zuko's eye was burnt, and his dad Ozai informs him to leave the place and only come back after finding the avatar. He also tells him to take that group of soldiers you saved as a punishment. In the present, Aang returns to the burnt village and enters another dimension. He then returns the lost statue to the monster, who in turn releases all the humans. Aang reunites with Katara and her brother, witnessing the joy of the villagers as they are reunited with their lost loved ones. Finally, they reached the waterbenders, who were happy to see the avatar as they knew the firebenders were planning to attack. Meanwhile, in the Fire Nation, Azula showcased her firebending skills, but her father criticized her for being too slow. Azula became angry and told her friends that he knew everything and that he didn't want me to be the queen. He wanted his son to be the king. But I am more capable, and I will prove it in front of the waterbenders. Meanwhile, when the Water Nation's king has a conversation with Aang about the war's strategy, Aang tells them the truth that he hasn't mastered any of the bending yet and still needs his friend's assistance. This disappoints the king and the army commander, and Aang gets very sad. Meanwhile, Katara learns that women here don't participate in war and only use their waterbending skills to heal people. Katara thinks this is wrong and leaves from there. Aang then meets the waterbender Avatar and asks for help activating his powers, but he tells him that he cannot help him and warns him to leave his friends and to focus on training. Sokka then meets a girl with white hair and thinks that he has met her before, and remembers in the form of a fox from the spirit world who asked him to help the monster. She explains that she was once gravely ill and sought help, and with the moon's assistance, they can perform waterbending. The moon granted her a portion of its soul, allowing her to exist in both the human and spirit worlds. In the firebender's domain, Zuko's sister impresses their father with her firebending skills, even demonstrating the ability to generate electricity. This pleases their father. Meanwhile, the firebenders advance towards the waterbenders' territory, equipped with an air balloon carrying their general. Although the waterbenders were mentally prepared for the impending war, they lacked the numbers to match the firebenders. Katara suggested that women should join the fight, demonstrating her skills by battling their army commander with waterbending. She proved that women could indeed play a crucial role in the conflict. As the attack began, Aang, Katara, and their allies mobilized to defend against the firebenders. However, Zuko's uncle warned his general that the full moon granted the waterbenders enhanced strength. Unfazed, the general revealed his plan to eliminate the souls of the moon and the sea when they converged at a waterfall during the full moon. Despite warnings of dire consequences, the general remained resolute. While the general set out to find the soul of the moon, Zuko pursued Aang, engaging in a fierce battle with Katara. Using her waterbending prowess, Katara managed to subdue Zuko. Meanwhile, the general succeeded in killing the soul of the moon, causing it to turn red. Subsequently, he used a magical dagger to eliminate the waterbenders, leading to the moon turning black and the waterbenders losing their power. With the waterbenders weakened, the firebenders launched a devastating assault on their territory. The temple of the waterbenders can also be destroyed, just like in the scene Kyoshi showed Aang in his vision. Aang's initial instinct was to save the people there, but then he recalls Kyoshi's advice. Kyoshi told him to stop worrying about others and focus on himself to harness his own powers. With this in mind, Aang heads towards the middle of the sea and offers his soul to it. The combination of the Avatar's soul and the sea creates a massive monster. This monster proceeds to destroy all the firebender ships. Zuko witnesses this and steps forward to confront Aang. The firebender general, upon seeing Zuko alive, becomes furious because he believed Zuko to be dead. Both Zuko and the general cease fighting the Avatar and turn their attention towards each other. Zuko defeats the general, who then asks Zuko if he believes his father will make him a king by capturing the Avatar. Zuko realizes that his father is only using him and manipulating his sister to become more powerful. His father's true intention is to make her the real queen. The defeated general reveals that he is Zuko's enemy because it is his father's command. After this intense scene, Princess Yue converses with Sokka and explains that the moon once granted her a part of his soul, which brought her back to life. Now the moon needs her help. As soon as she says this, she sacrifices her soul to the sea and the moon, causing the moon to revive and illuminate the sky once again. Despite everything being resolved, Aang remains in his monstrous state, still consumed by anger over the destruction caused by the waterbenders. Katara tries to console him, saying, "Aang, you're amazing. You're part of our family. Don't lose yourself. The people here need you." Hearing these words, Aang's anger subsides, and he emerges from the water as a powerful avatar. However, he still feels guilty for the devastation around him. His companions reassure him that he is not to blame, as it was the firebenders who caused the destruction. Aang decides to let go of the past and focus on his journey ahead. The scene shifts to Zuko and his uncle, who were still unsure of what to do after being deceived by his own father and sister. Meanwhile, Zuko's father receives news that despite causing destruction among the waterbenders, they have lost to them. Unfazed, he explains to his people that it was all part of their plan, and they never intended to harm the waterbenders. Their true goal was to provoke the avatars into action. Secretly, they had already taken control of the earthbenders' territory through their daughter. Zuko's sister is thrilled about capturing the earthbenders' territory. In the end, Ozai reveals that a fireball will soon pass over the earth, enhancing their powers even further. And with that, this season of the story comes to a close.